just returned from Denali. Unfortunately, unsuccessful trip. Didn't make it to the summit, but I did want to do a gear review on kind of what worked, what didn't work, and also a little bit on how I kind of pack things. So I'll start with this pack, I guess. This is the Mountain Hardwear AMG, I think it's called. Yeah, AMG 105. Overall, really happy with the pack. It's a little bit of a struggle because it's only one big pocket for the most part. There are a couple little pockets here, but anytime you need anything, you need to kind of grab everything out all at once. So that's the only downside. Otherwise, really comfy, really nice pack overall. Yeah. Okay, so I've emptied out the pack here and kind of put everything out here. I have organized it into different stuff sacks just to keep myself organized on the trip, and I'll go into each one of those and what's in them and kind of evaluate everything there. The one thing that I have in here that I haven't taken out is the sleeping bag. This is the Mountain Hardwear Phantom -40. Overall, super happy with that bag. It's really, really warm. It's also really big. It fits into the stuff sack, but the stuff sack is huge. If I was going to do it again, I would just stuff it in the bottom of the bag like I have now. So, highly recommend the bag. Super, super warm. Very nice. As far as sleep systems go, I also brought a regular pillowcase. I used to use, it's a very small pillowcase. I used to use, you know, like a camping pillow, and I never really found it to be very comfortable. So this time I just said I would bring this, and it worked really well. I actually just took like a down jacket and stuffed it in here, and that was my pillow, which super lightweight, really, really works nice. Alright, so first thing, we'll go through the red bag here. This is headgear, so mostly hats. I normally wore a trucker hat all the time. When it was a little bit colder, I was wearing just a kind of standard beanie. That worked well. I did bring two buffs. One is just a regular buff. That worked really well on the lower glacier. I did cut a little hole in it for the mouth, but I don't know if that's necessary or not. I didn't really use it in that way too much. The other buff I got is this cold weather buff. I did wear this quite a bit. It got really hot actually, pretty sweaty, but I think, you know, on the upper mountain this would be pretty nice. I didn't make it to the top, so I didn't get to a point where it was super cold. But when it was cold, this worked really well. Yeah, this is a balaclava. This is a Mountain Hardwear one, I guess. And I've used this in the past. I used it on Elbrus. It worked pretty well. I didn't end up using it here because I wasn't at that height where I needed it. I did bring another little kind of buff thing from Mountain Hardwear. I'll probably leave this one home next time because I have the other buff now. So this one can go into the don't bring again pile. Also have this beanie. My mom made me this beanie. It's super warm. It's a little bit tight. It's really heavy. I've used it on all my other mountains, and mostly just because my mom made it, but I think I would leave that one home as well. It's pretty heavy and not great as far as how tight it gets. Okay, finished up with headwear. I'm actually going to take all the stuff that I wear on a regular basis and put that in another pile. So I normally wore a hat, sometimes a beanie, and a buff all the time. And these are the ones that I didn't end up using because it didn't reach the summit. And then I had a couple that I would not bring again. I'll put those in their own pile. So next up, gloves. I brought a lot of gloves on this trip. I would say I brought too many gloves. So I'll kind of go through that. Alright, I big, I think, Mountain Hardwear Absolute Zero mitts. These are kind of emergency and summit day. Didn't end up using them, but would definitely bring them again. And then as far as the gloves I use the most are these Hestras. I'm not sure what the name is, but they have a liner in them. And just kind of a hardcore skiing glove really, but really warm, good dexterity, fairly waterproof, and yeah, like a nice liner glove in the inside as well. I use these most of the time on the mountain, and was really happy with them. I have just some kind of lighter liner type gloves. These are Rossignol glove. They have a little bit of grip to them. You know, really nothing special, nothing crazy about them, but just a nice lightweight glove. More of a midweight, I guess, not really a liner. Because this is more of a liner. This is a very small glove, not waterproof or anything. Just I use these quite a bit when it's warm out, and just actually to protect me from the sun. Those work pretty well. And then these are Carhartt. They're kind of like a gardening glove, basically. Pretty waterproof, but you know, good dexterity, good grip. Just kind of a nice one. I use these quite a bit. They're a little bit warmer than the liners, and they didn't get soggy like these got. So these were great for anything that required a little bit of dexterity. Those are good. And then I had one more glove here. This is kind of another midweight. I don't know who makes this, but it's a really nice glove. It's got some down on it. Never ended up using it. I wouldn't bring it again. Just didn't really fit into any category where I need it. If I need this glove, I basically just use this glove. So it's another thing to get rid of. I actually lost one of those gloves, so I don't know what happened there. Most of the time I was wearing these, I guess, or these. Yeah, pretty happy with the gloves. Just it's a lot of gloves. If I was going to do it again, I would maybe get rid of these little liners. Yeah. Okay. So we got gloves and hats done. The next bag, the biggest bag by far, is the bottoms. Yeah, I've also got, there's the glove I was missing. I've also got some stuff sacks in here. I brought these, they're kind of a mesh stuff sack. I thought it'd be good to dry stuff. I thought I could put it on the outside of my pack, and you know, if I had some socks, I could hang them outside and dry. Didn't end up using them. There's plenty of time in the tent, and the tent got warm enough where I didn't need them. So this is going to go into that pile of things I didn't need. This is the wrong pile. Alright, so the biggest thing in here are these puffy pants. I didn't end up using them on this trip because it didn't get cold enough where, you know, before I came down. I think, you know, I haven't used them, I can't really speak to them, but I really like them. I would bring them again because I just don't know if they were needed or not. I was plenty warm with, you know, with my base layer and my normal pants, but we also didn't experience any super cold weather, so I would definitely bring those again. As far as base layers go, I had these. These are Old Low, just kind of a basic merino wool, I guess, base layer. I wore these every day on the bottom, and then I have these Fjallraven G1000 pants. These are kind of my go-to in the mountains. They have a built-in gaiter, they zip off, they're stretchy where they need to be stretchy, and you can also wax them to make them a little bit more waterproof or windproof. They're kind of a heavy pant, but overall really comfortable, nice pockets. Yeah, I love these pants, and you know, around camp I can zip off the bottoms and make them into shorts. Also, when it's really hot, you can zip. They have some vents on the sides, which allow your legs to breathe, which is really nice. Yeah, sometimes I'll wear these underneath the rain pants or shell pants, and I'll unzip them so they vent a little bit, so you're not just sweating inside your shell. So yeah, base pants and base layer and the fuel ribbon pants, and then for the shells, these are Mountain Hardwear. I don't know which one it is, but really lightweight. You know, just a nice waterproof layer. You're not getting any warmth out of this, but a really nice pant. And full zip. You really need the full zip because you're wearing crampons and huge boots. So yeah, really happy with these. I actually started the first day not wearing them because it was pretty warm, and you know, we didn't think it was going to rain or anything. It rained, so ended up putting these on, and then I had them on the rest of the time, just because if you're sitting in the snow or kneeling in the snow, or even if it just starts snowing a little bit, you just want that shell on. And it also helps with the wind. So that was something I wore all the time. I had another kind of thicker base layer here. These are REI, just kind of a, I don't know, just a thicker base layer. Didn't end up using this. I wouldn't bring this again. Even for like summit day, I think I would be warm enough with those three plus the puffy pants. So just added weight. I'll put that in the don't bring again pile. As far as underwear goes, I brought 3 pairs of underwear. These are the Saks brand. I really like these. They hold up pretty well. Yeah, some people recommended only bringing 1 pair of underwear. I think that's kind of crazy. I think 3 was probably okay. Maybe 1 too many. I did make sure to bring 3 different colors. So these are blue. I had a gray and a black, just so that I could kind of keep track of them. So that if I did want to switch into them, I could. I would know which ones are clean. I guess I could also smell them. But anyway, yeah, probably bring 2 next time, and save a little bit of weight there. Okay, as far as socks go, I definitely brought too many socks on this trip. I had the plan of bringing a liner sock, a lighter sock, and like a heavier sock as like a set, and then I was going to wear that each day. So I kind of had, you know, two sets, and then I had a big sock for summit day. I didn't end up using it this way. If I was going to do it again, I would definitely get rid of one of the liner socks, probably the lightweight sock, and I would stick to the system I used, which was a long ski sock. And this is a Smart Wool. It's kind of a mid-weight ski sock. I wore that on the bottom, and then over the top of that I wore, you know, a bigger sock, kind of normal, just big sock. These are also Smart Wool, I think. So I had 2 big pairs of socks there. I did have the summit socks. I didn't end up using these because we didn't summit, but yeah, I would bring those again for sure. I did have a much heavier weight sock, kind of ski sock as well, that I used, and this was a Darn Tough is the brand. I really like these. Really like the Smart Wool ski socks as well. But yeah, I think I could get away with probably just these and maybe 1 big pair of socks and then the summit socks. Maybe I would bring the liners, I don't know. I don't think so actually. So I could probably pare down and get rid of these. The reason I went with the ski sock is because I brought these boots. These are the Sportiva Olympus Mons. They're an 8,000 meter boot. Pretty happy with these. They're actually pretty lightweight for what they are. They have the the super gator, built-in gator. They have this BOA system, which is super nice, and then they come with their own kind of neoprene bootie. So I'll wear the 2 pairs of socks, and then I'll wear this. And then they also have their own removable liner, which is really nice because you can take this out when you get to camp, let it dry along with your booties, and then your main boot is stays dry. Yeah, I bought these really large. I normally take about an 11. These are a 13. In hindsight, they're probably a little bit big, but your feet really swell when you get to the upper altitudes. And yeah, the advice was to kick a wall 3 times, and your toe should hit the front, inside front on the 3rd kick. That is the way they were. That's how I wore them. But I did end up with some blisters. In hindsight, I would maybe go down to a 12 and a half or something. But I would also leave these not so tight. So I really tightened them up a lot. I wore 2 pairs of socks, this bootie, that bootie, and I also have a sole in here, just kind of a comfort sole, just to try to kind of take up some of that space. I think that caused a little bit too much friction having it too tight. So if I was going to do it again, I would, I'm not going to buy new boots. These are really nice boots, but I'll definitely loosen them up. I did that halfway through the trip, and it got a lot better, but definitely had a pretty nasty blister because of that. Overall though, really happy with the boot. Didn't get super cold where we were on the mountain, but these are definitely warm, they're comfy. Yeah, really happy with them. The BOA system's really cool as well. Okay, just to finish up on boots, or footwear actually. So the last item is these Xped camp booties. Just a down bootie with, I don't know, a nice waterproof sole, kind of rubberized sole. These are great in that they didn't catch any water whatsoever. They didn't bring any snow in with you into your tent or your sleeping bag, so you could walk around camp all day with them, in the snow, and walk right into your tent and even right in your sleeping bag without having to worry about it getting wet, which is really nice. They are a little bit slippery depending on the type of snow, so you have to be a little bit careful with that, but really nice, pretty warm. If I was up higher, it was really cold, I would wear these inside of these around camp while the other booties are drying in the tent. So yeah, highly recommend these. It's an Xped camp bootie. These are a little bit smaller than the other ones I saw. I saw some, I can't remember the brand names. I think Feathered Friends makes some, and 40 Below or something like that makes another one, but there's a couple other on the market, and these are a lot smaller than what everybody else had, which I kind of like because they pack down, and again, if it's really cold, I'll just wear the outside boot. So yeah, super happy with those. Okay, next up is upper layers, upper body, and alright, so I used, I used quite a few different layers here. I think I could definitely pare this down looking back on it. So this is my 7 Summit shirt. I really like the shirt. It's great for most mountains. I wore it the first day as a base layer on Denali and then got rid of it. It's just, you don't need a short sleeve shirt on Denali at all, so that would stay home. On most trips, I like to bring just a shirt to sleep in. It's just kind of just a nice basic, really soft shirt. I think it's Mountain Hardwear or something. It's heavy, it's very comfy. I didn't use it at all. The sleeping bag is really warm, and yeah, I just didn't use it. It's super heavy. I ended up caching that in the snow after a little bit. What I did end up using most of the time, I started out with this base layer. This is a very thin base layer. It's smart wool, or yeah, I think it's smart wool. Yeah, super thin. I really like this one because it's very long, so you can actually tuck it in, and then when you're moving, you know, your pack always seems to pull your shirt or your jackets up. This kind of makes sure that you stay warm. Nice and lightweight. Really like this one. Although I ended up wearing this one more. This is just a heavier weight. It's the Icebreaker 260. That other one's probably a 200 weight. This is a 260. Ended up wearing this one a lot. And then what I wore all the time actually was this Patagonia, I don't know what this thing's called. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a base layer, but it has a hood. It's a really big hood. It comes up, you know, all the way up to your nose or over your nose if you want it to. And yeah, it's lightweight. It's like a 200 weight. So yeah, what I would do is I would wear this over the top of this, and then I would use this as a sunshade, or to protect me from the wind. I could actually put the hood up and it would cover most of my face, which was really nice. Speaking of covering my face, I also ended up buying this thing. This is a Outer U is what it's called, and it looks a little bit silly, but it works really well. So it just sits like this, and then your sunglasses or your goggles sit here, but it's protects your nose from the sun as well as your cheeks, and then when you have that hood, you're all the way up anyway. So I was really happy with this. Bought it in the shop just before the mountaineering shop just before we left, and really nice. I didn't like the nose clip that you usually see with people using with sunglasses. I had one of those as well, but didn't use it. This was really nice. Outer U is the brand, but super happy with that. Okay, for the rest of the upper layers, I have this. I don't know. This is a smart wool, just kind of lightweight sweater. I bring this on all my trips. Usually end up using it summit day. Didn't use it on this trip because it didn't make the summit, but I think I probably would have used it. I would likely bring it again, and yeah, what I would do is I would replace this with this, and that would probably be my thing there. Okay, for the jackets, my main kind of go-to jacket with Denali was this Sportiva. It's kind of half down, half stretchy, soft shell. Super nice. It's not waterproof, but it's a really nice kind of just all-around jacket. Super happy with this one. Yeah, just a really nice jacket. The other thing that I wore all the time was the shell. This is just an Arc'teryx Beta AR. Really love this jacket. If I was going to do it again though, I would probably buy one of their other models that's a little bit longer. It's just a little bit short, and I think they do that so you can put your harness and your pack on without, getting in the way of your jacket. I would rather have it be a little bit longer and just put the harness over the top, just for a little bit extra coverage from rain, wind, whatever, but also to keep that warmth in a little bit. But overall, really happy with the jacket. Just minor detail there. This is the Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer. I've had this one for a long time. Really like this jacket. It's super lightweight. I didn't use it much on Denali just because those other two worked well for the elevation I was at. As we got higher in the mountain, I probably would have used it more, and it doesn't weigh anything, so I would definitely bring it again. The big jacket is the Mountain Hardwear Nihilus. I looked at the Absolute Zero. I think that was probably overkill though. One guy did have it. It looked super warm, but I don't know if it was needed. This one's really warm and really, good sized hood, really nice coverage, especially when you have a buff or a balaclava underneath. But yeah, really nice jacket. And this would stay, I was wearing kind of these two all the time. This one I would wear anytime we would stop. It would sit right on top of my pack, at the very top. As soon as I put the pack down, put this one on over the top just to conserve warmth while we rested. Really happy with that jacket. Okay, that was basically it for clothing, or most of it for clothing. Most of that stuff was living inside the pack that I was carrying all the time. The rest of the stuff is kind of the sled bag. When you go with Alaska Mountaineering School, you actually don't use this duffel as your sled bag. I really like this duffel, but I probably didn't need it. I could have just used a regular suitcase actually, because it was not used once we got to Alaska. Okay, this is my camera bag. I'm actually filming this with this camera, but it's a big Pentex DSLR. I brought this on the mountain and immediately regretted it. I normally carry this on the front. I clip it to the front pack, and then I have easy access to my camera as I move. On Denali, you're roped up in a way that it just doesn't allow for it, and you really just have no time as you're moving. It also weighs 5 pounds or 2.5 kilos. Yeah, I ended up caching it right away and not using it at all. I think I took about 12 pictures in the first couple days, so would not do that again. All right, this orange thing here is actually a sitting pad. So it's just a little inflatable thermarest that you use to sit on. This is really nice around camp, especially in the cook tent. You sit on snow, so most people bring their big sleep pad. The problem with that is then your sleep pad gets snow on it, and you're constantly dragging it in and out of your tent. This thing doesn't weigh much. It's really nice. It was also nice to use sometimes when we're taking breaks, just to put on top of the snow if you're not sitting on your pack itself. But really like this, really happy with it. Solar panel, this is a X-Torn. It's a Dutch brand, from what I understand. Folded out pretty nicely. I'll do another video where I kind of pack everything, and I'll show you how I rigged this up so I could put it on the outside of my pack. However, on Denali, you didn't need to do that. You're mostly hiking at night, and even though it doesn't ever get dark, it's not really enough light while you're hiking to get the sun. I usually just kind of attach it to the front, or the top of the tent, and it worked really well. It has a nice pocket in the back for your power brick, and yeah, it can do 2 devices at once. I really like this. Super impressed with it actually. Alright, let's go into water bottles, I guess. So, 2 Nalgene's, and this is a Nalgene insulated cover. Works really well. Well, it didn't work super well. It's still got a little bit icy, but that's to be expected. It's pretty cold. but overall worked pretty well. And yeah, these usually went, I usually have one in kind of the top of my pack and one in the sled, so I could just access it really easy. I also sometimes hooked it on the outside of the pack, but it got a little bit too cold for that, so I usually kept it in the pack. I also brought a little protein shaker. I actually use this quite a bit just to, you know, make protein shakes. I didn't want to use the others. I kept one of these for just water and one for electrolytes, and I didn't want to mix all those together. So that worked really well. I do have a giant thermos somewhere. I read a review that said I definitely need to bring a thermos. I definitely should not have brought a thermos. That made no sense at all. It's just super heavy, and when you're getting hot water for tea or whatever, you're better off with just a mug instead of a giant thermos. You could also just use your Nalgene. So yeah, this would definitely not go with me again. This is the same brand, really nice kind of food cup mug, just a giant mug basically that you put all your food in. I really like this one. It's a little bit insulated. Yeah, super happy with this. I actually bought a smaller version by accident, which I would definitely bring instead of the thermos, because then that would be my coffee mug or whatever. Yeah, so happy with all these. Would not bring the giant thermos again. Okay, that's all the water bottles and stuff. And last but not least on the water bottles, I guess, is the pee bottle. I put a lot of stickers on it, made it a totally different water bottle type, so I didn't accidentally drink out of it. This worked pretty well. It's pretty awkward and weird, but you kind of get used to it. But yeah, this stayed in the sled all the time, or next to my bed in the tent, I guess. But yeah. Anyway, I've washed it multiple times. I'll never drink out of it, so it's okay. If I was going to do it again, I might do a regular Nalgene instead, just because it's a little bit easier to handle. But yeah, it was okay. Alright, trekking poles. These are the Lecky, I don't know what they're called, like a Z something. I did go and get a larger snow basket for them, just because you're going to snow the whole time. I've had these for a long time. Really, really nice. Micro Vario is what it's called. Really a nice pole. They're adjustable. You can adjust them really easily on the fly. So when you're going, you know, uphill, make them a little bit shorter. Downhill, extend them out all the way. Yeah, really happy with these. The one maybe sticking point with them is when you want to store them on your pack. This pack worked out fine. You could just kind of stuff them into the pack without much issue, but a lot of packs have little loops for them. It's a little bit tougher with that Z style instead of the collapsible one. But overall, I'm really happy with these. It's pretty easy to make it work with the Z style, and it does fold down really nice. Yeah, one thing with this, if I'm going back, I would not bring a stuff sack. I end up with a lot of stuff sacks for things that just didn't need stuff sacks. These were always in my hands, or yeah, the one time they weren't, it's in the sled, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Crampons. These are the G12s from Gribble. Really strong Velcro, apparently. I also bought these things which protect your bag from the spikes. I wouldn't bring these again if I was going to. This bag is fine for them. These ones I bought from, I don't know, German company that actually kind of rebranded with their own color. They're normally yellow. But anyway, super nice. I would say if you have a larger than 13 size boot, just make sure to size them up before you go, because these barely fit, extended all the way out. But they do really nice, really happy with them. Okay, for the harness that I use, this is a kind of standard black diamond climbing harness. Pretty heavy, pretty bulky. If I was going to do it again, I would definitely get a different one. Just a little bit too heavy, a little bit too bulky, and I would also get the detachable leg clips, so they make them where you can actually clip them in and out. That would have been really convenient as far as getting it on in the mornings. Yeah, not super happy with the harness. Just a little bit too bulky, like I said, especially when you have a pack over the top of it with its own belt. Yeah, I just didn't really like it. There are a lot of carabiners on here. They actually require 10 non-lock carabiners. We actually used all 10, so that was good. But just, yeah, it's pretty heavy, but yeah, you actually need them all. Anyway, yeah, wouldn't do that harness again if I was going to do it over. This I didn't bring on the mount with me. This is a REI, just kind of travel bag, so you put it over your larger pack, just to travel with it. I really love this because it keeps the straps all tucked away, keeps your pack in good shape, and then this then becomes your hotel bag, so you throw all the clothes that you had or shoes that you had on the plane in there, and then you're kind of good to go as far as that goes. Didn't go on the mountain with me, but I bring it on every trip I'm on that I have a pack. So. All right, this is my sleep pad. Is a Thermarest Z Light Soul, I think is what it's called. It's yellow on one side, kind of shiny on the other. Really happy with this. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of people use this as their chair when they're in the mess tent, the cook tent. But I like to just keep it underneath and then use this inflatable one as my chair. But nothing bad to say about this. It's really nice. It stayed in the sled the whole time. This will fit in the pack on the outside if you don't have a sled, if you're doing a different trip. But really nice. And use that in combination with the Neo Therm Air, I think it's called. Thermarest, it's their kind of warmest insulated inflatable mattress. So that combination was really nice. Stayed really warm. Didn't really test it as far as the elements go too much, but I really like the system and would definitely use it again. Alright, this is just a little baggie full of hand and foot warmers. I didn't end up using these. I brought 4 foot warmers and looks like 10 hand warmers. According to our guide, that's the perfect amount to bring. I thought it was a little bit much. I was going to put some back, but he said that was actually perfect. So something to keep in mind. The other thing with hand warmers in particular, so the foot warmers just go under your on your sole of your boot. The hand warmers you usually want to put kind of in your gloves. There are some glove makers who make a little pocket for those. There is a liner glove. I think it's Outdoor Research makes one that I'll look into getting for this. That was a recommendation from one of the guys on the trip, is get those liners where you can put it in there, and then it stays really nice and warm, and it has its own pocket. It's not just kind of floating around. Toiletries bag. It's kind of a big bag. I don't know if I would do this again. This is kind of my go-to for most things when I travel. I have my glasses, I have two pairs of glasses. I always bring the lightest weight one. Case is super important to have though. And then contacts, 2 extra pairs of contacts, a little travel solution, and the actual case. I like to keep all this in its own bag. That the solution tends to leak a little bit, so yeah, that worked pretty well. Toothpaste, just a small one. I do have a big toothbrush in this case. I know people sometimes cut their toothpaste or toothbrush down to save weight and whatnot. I like this system. Maybe if I did it again, I would get rid of the case and just use a plastic bag, but yeah. Other things that I had in here, just some face wipes, like from the airplane. I had some ibuprofen, just in case. I had my doxycycline, the altitude meds, for, take those at night, along with ibuprofen if I needed it. I also brought this pulse oximeter. I ended up not really using this much. I have a pulse oximeter on my Apple Watch now, so didn't need it much. I wish I would use it more because it ties back to an app that I have where I've tracked it before, and that would be nice to have, but I was just pretty lazy about it, I guess. So yeah, that's really it for the toiletries bag. I said that the bag itself is a little bit big and bulky. It's kind of nice to have something other than just a big Ziploc bag though. So yeah, I'll probably keep this system, but it is a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier than it probably should be. First aid kit, this goes on the top of my pack where I can always reach it if I need to. It's a lot of just kind of pills mostly, so a little bit of altitude meds, mostly kind of painkillers of various strengths. Compeed, I use this quite a bit for my blister. This is kind of a must on any mountain, I think. It's just, as soon as you get hot spots, put that on, it usually prevents them. Didn't work this time because I didn't get to it fast enough, but worked well. I ended up using a lot of betadine. This is an iodine cream because my blister was pretty nasty. And then a little bit of gauze, I used that as well, just taped it on just to kind of keep it protected and padded. There's some little gloves in here that came with the kit. A lighter, I don't know what I'll use that lighter for ever, but it's in the kit and you never know. So yeah, really just a basic first aid kit. Like I said, it stays on top of the pack so I can reach it whenever I want. Yeah. Cool. Oh, in my toiletries, I also had some vitamins. I actually usually sort it into those little pill boxes that go Monday through Sunday. Yeah, I ditched that. I put it all in a plastic bag. It was kind of a disaster because one of the pills, so I bring a few different pills, so garlic oil, which is supposed to help with altitude, a multivitamin, and I think that's about it. A couple different multivitamins, I guess. Anyway, one of them just kind of disintegrates. It's really soft and kind of disintegrates. It just kind of ruined the whole bag. I ended up not taking them very much because it was just a mess. It was just a gooey mess in there. So that was kind of a fail, but I usually do bring some multivitamins just because the food you get in the mountain is not always the best. This thing is a little, it's called a go-to. It's you put it in your mouth and breathe, and it makes it a little bit harder to breathe out, which actually helps open up your lungs more. I didn't use this at all. It's okay for running, and I use it quite a bit before the trip to train, but yeah, I thought I would use it on the mountain. I just didn't. You're usually covering your mouth up with something, and it creates a lot of saliva, so when it's cold you just don't want that. I would not bring this again. Okay, really getting down to the end now, just kind of odds and ends. spoon is a Sea to Summit Spork, I guess. I put some duct tape on it because it's metal, so it gets cold. It's not the most comfortable spoon, but the nice thing about it is it is really long, and that helps, especially when you're using the freeze-dried packets. It can really get all the way down in there. Also, using this, it was nice because it fits all the way down there as well. I've seen some people with really small spoons or forks, and they're always kind of struggling, so I'm really happy with this. Sea to Summit Long Spork or whatever. Little Leatherman, I brought this everywhere. It's the Leatherman Wave. It's heavy, but it gets used every single trip. Alright, I did buy a Write in the Rain notebook, like $7 I think in the store, and then a Write in the Rain pen, which was somehow like $15, so kind of expensive, but it's nice to have a little journal, and yeah, especially not having to worry about it getting wet. So expensive, but probably worth it. Alright, I did bring a GoPro. I used it more than I used my camera, but less than my iPhone. I used a little clip, so it's this GoPro backpack clip. It worked okay, it sat right here. I found it really hard actually just to be able to have the time to actually turn it on and use it. I would definitely bring it again, but I think I would look at maybe a different strap system, either a helmet or maybe in the center of the chest or something. But yeah, I found it really hard just to use it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was lazy. Maybe it was just yeah. It's kind of tough to. It sounds silly, but it's kind of tough to walk and do anything else at the same time. You're really focused on what's in front of you and making sure that your rope is tight and has the appropriate amount of slack in it. And then you also have, you've got a pole in each hand, you've got gloves on, so even just pushing the button, you have to move your one pole over, take your glove off, maybe not, and then make sure that you're still keeping that exact same rhythm. So it sounds like it's pretty easy to do, but when you're kind of in the moment, it just becomes the last thing you're thinking about is filming. So, but anyway, GoPro was good. Just should have used it more. Little Sea to Summit bag. I can't remember what I put in here. I think I put my pillow and kind of my nightshade stuff. So probably wouldn't need to bring this again. It's just I ended up with a lot of stuff sacks for no reason. This was kind of my electronics bag. So just bags. I brought too many power bricks. So I brought one big power brick, which is that X-Torm that goes with the solar panel, and then I brought another smaller one. This one was a 20,000, I think, is the 18 watt. The solar panel is a 22 watt. So this was my main charger. I barely ever used this one. I think I used it once. It was nice to have the backup. Yeah, this is a 4,000. I think this is a 20,000. And then I did have this little one that I borrowed, which used it once. Wouldn't bring that again. It's just extra weight. And then I had various cords. Apple Watch cord, and then phone and GoPro. So a bunch of wires. I ended up caching this, or this is just extra wires. I don't know why I brought so many. Kleenex, playing cards never used. I had a little book that I used for a little while, and a clothesline, which I thought I would use in the tent, but the tent actually already had a clothesline in it, so didn't need that. This is all just extra weight. And okay, so the last thing in the bag was a little cough drop, echinacea cough drop, and a kind of regular cough drop. It was nice just to have a little bit of sugar, something sweet to to have when you're kind of walking, and it's just kind of a nice little treat that gave a little bit of energy maybe. Unfortunately, that paper wrapper just disintegrated with the moisture in the air, so it ended up being a gooey mess. I just didn't use it much at all. Alright, that's it for everything. I guess one last thing, I had a little thermometer. Yeah, we used it in the tent. It was pretty interesting. You know, it was pretty warm in the tent at times. It was 80 Fahrenheit, so I don't know what that is, 27 or so in Celsius. It didn't get real cold where we were. It was probably zero Fahrenheit, a little bit below 0 in Celsius. Maybe a little below 0 Fahrenheit at times, but not real cold considering the gear that you have. But yeah, it was kind of fun just to look at. I talked about this bag before. I like this bag. It's huge. It's the Mountain Hardwear 140. If I was doing Denali again and I didn't have this bag, I wouldn't buy it if I was going with Alaska Mountaineering School, just because you use their own sled bags, so not really needed. Okay, there was one more thing in the bag. This was my food bag, and yeah, actually we had 3 of these, and this is kind of what was some of the stuff that was left over. But the 3, one of them weighed 7 pounds, the other 2 were 5 pounds. So you know you're at 17 plus pounds of food. I had a couple bags, so in each bag I had kind of the same deal where I had a bunch of electrolytes in one, I had a bunch of tea and coffee in another. I actually didn't use the tea and coffee much at all. I use electrolytes quite a bit. I just had the one water bottle which I threw all the electrolytes in. That was nice. The rest of this is just a bunch of nuts, trail mix, more coffee and tea. This is some more electrolytes, but also a bunch of protein powders. I just picked up a bunch of those, and then I had the little protein shaker here, which that actually worked out really well. It's just important to clean them as you go. The last thing in this food bag was just a bunch of granola bars. By far the heaviest thing you have in your food bag. Also, that's your lunch. When you're on the mountain, you're not stopping for lunch at all. You're just kind of walking for anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a day, and you just stop every couple hours. You have a granola bar, you drink some water, and that's your lunch. So you know 3 or 4 granola bars if you're lucky, if you feel like eating, which you generally don't, but they are nice to have around camp too. Anyway, that's it for food. This food bag weighed 5 pounds. That we actually had 3 of these, so you had 1 for each week. And yeah, one of them is a little bit heavier, so the first week is about 7 pounds, and then the other 2 were 5 each. And that's about average. People are between 5 and 7 pounds on each of them, so somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds of food. As far as weight goes, food is a big part of it, but obviously your gear weighs a lot, and then you also have group gear, pots, pans, gas, the CMCs, the clean mountain cans, your toilet, shovels, tent. It all adds up. This duffel, before I unloaded everything, I weighed it. It was 43 pounds. That was with the boots in it. The other pack was 30. Slightly under 30. 29 and a half or so, and that's before water. So these two, when they're both filled, that's 5 pounds, and that's another 2.5 for the Theranos. So yeah, it adds up to 70 to 75 pounds before your group gear and before the rest of the food. So it's definitely a lot of weight to be carrying up the mountain. So I do have most of the stuff I would bring again. There is a huge section of stuff that I've been kind of setting out to the side of stuff that I would not bring again. I'm gonna put all that in a bag and weigh it quick and see exactly how much I could have saved if I would have packed correctly. So I've got everything here that that I would not bring, that I think was a mistake to bring, and I just weighed it all. This, I was able to put this in here and weigh it. On here, it was just over 6 pounds, and the camera bag I weighed before I started filming, because I'm filming with the camera. That is just over 5 pounds, so a little over 11 pounds, somewhere between 11 and 12 pounds of stuff that I should not have brought on the mountain, actually. So the stuff that I took out, DSLR, complete waste. It's too much weight. You don't have time to use it. It's just not worth it. I took a lot of photos with my iPhone that worked out great. I did get a few pictures on the plane ride to the glacier, but I don't think it's worth bringing a camera for that. I brought too many gloves, so getting rid of a couple pairs of gloves. I brought too much, toilet paper. That was just being a little bit overcautious, I guess. I brought a lot of these little stuff sacks that just didn't need to come with me. I just didn't use them. It's not much weight, but it all adds up. Base layer. I had one base layer. This is a little heavier duty base layer. I would leave that behind and just stay with the regular one. I had 2 t-shirts. One that I usually wear, but it's kind of too cold for a t-shirt. Just doesn't make sense. And then the other one I usually wear at night. It's just a nice soft one, but this is really heavy and just not worth it. I had 2 beanies. This one is kind of the less good of the two for what you need. I really like this beanie, but it's just heavy and I don't need 2. It's pretty simple. Socks. Brought too many socks for sure. I just didn't have that system dialed in correctly. It's a lot of weight there as well. And then this kind of buff thing, I had a couple other buffs, so I didn't need that. Power brick, I had more than enough power bricks. The solar panel worked really well, so just didn't need it. This weird mouthpiece thing, don't need it. Playing cards, a little book. The Kleenex, I had a lot of Kleenex for some reason on the mountain. Could easily just use toilet paper. The clothesline, just didn't need it, and then I brought too many wires, so that's a bunch of weight there. Sunscreen, a lot of weight there, just didn't need it all. And the weird top draft thing. One thing, and the thermos, which is super heavy. One thing that I didn't have in on the pack was my iPad. So I had an iPad mini. Some people bring a Kindle. I don't have a Kindle. I brought an iPad mini. Pretty lightweight. I was able to read on it. It worked really well. But yeah, anyway, 11 pounds of stuff that should not have gone with me. And yeah, when you're talking about carrying 80 pounds plus group gear up the mountain, up to 100 or more pounds, sometimes 125 pounds. 10 pounds makes a huge difference, 11 pounds makes a huge difference. So. Okay, this giant pile here is actually all the stuff that I was wearing on a daily basis. So, basic kind of trucker hat, underwear, base layer underneath, along with some pants. So this is an Oldo base layer, the Fjallraven G1000 pants. I think they're called the Keb Gator actually. G1000 is the material. Keb Gator. Mountain Hardwear shell, just a lightweight shell with the full zip. And then on top I had a base layer, kind of 2 base layers really, but this one with the hood, so kind of sun protection as well as wind. And then I had my Sportiva jacket and my shell. When it was warmer on on the lower glacier, I actually wasn't wearing this, I was just wearing the two bases with the shell, and that was plenty warm. As we moved up, this became more important, kind of wore that all the time. Always had a buff on. Didn't always have this on. When it was colder, I did just a beanie. That lived kind of in the top of my pack, so it was easy to get if I needed it. Buff was on all the time. And then the gloves, I either had these lightweight gloves or some sort of lightweight gloves. I had a couple different ones, or the big gloves. And either way, whatever I had on my hands are on my hands. I had gloves on all the time, just for sun protection, if nothing else. But yeah, when it was cold, I was wearing the big gloves, and then whatever I wasn't wearing would live right in the top of the pack, so I could switch that out easy. And then a belt. Denali is kind of unique with mountains in that you have your big summit boots and you wear those the whole time. So you don't have like an approach shoe or a regular hiking boot, you're just wearing your big boots. It's kind of nice because you only need one pair of boots, but they are big and they are heavy. But it's nice only having one pair. The other thing you're always wearing is your harness, which is, yeah, very heavy and awkward at times. But yeah, this is a whole big pile of stuff that's was always on my body, if not right in the top of the pack, so I can get to it easy, along with the big puffy as well.